Let's talk about why some of y'all follow people who bully you online. Because this has always intrigued me as someone who is a psychologist who studies power in the workplace and unwritten rules. And recently, someone commented on one of my YouTube videos. This one, I swear it was this one. I can't find the comment now, so I can't tag them. Why did I undermine myself at the end by saying, I don't know, I could be wrong? And as someone with a Ph.D. who is known for my work in my field, I want to answer why I said that. And this would not be, even if I could find the person, intended as a clapback, because I do think the spirit that this comes in is that a lot of women do undermine themselves when they're experts and at work, and I'm not going to pretend that's absolutely not at play here. Let me walk you through my process otherwise, and what you will see other people doing at work and on social media. So a tactic people use that is a form of white-collar acceptable bullying. I have a whole course on, because white-collar bullying looks different, because it has to be more subtle and indirect, because punching people in the face usually isn't allowed, is to put you down in a way that makes you look up to them, or that is the attempt. It is the backhanded, very toxic HR of, if you bring this up, you must be the problem. Of the, the only time I've quit a job just outright just was like, this is so corrupt. I cannot, as someone, again, who has published and is known in my field, I cannot be associated with this. I will not help you do this. Was the HR lady was like, well, why didn't you just come to me about it? If it was really so bad, why didn't you come to me first? Now, she didn't know who she was messing with, so she got the full documented list of all the reasons I didn't go to her first. But you will see this online with the, oh, if you critique me, you must have nothing going on in your life. It is putting themselves above you and putting you down. And it's fascinated me why people follow people like this, because it makes sense in a work environment because you're dependent on the money, and in the US, your health care. But on social media, where you are usually on in your leisure time, to watch someone bullying you is fascinating to me. Because I just can't, there are huge creators would be considered in my niche who I'm like, I can't follow, you're not going to, I know you're not talking to me, but I have no interest in being in a parasocial relationship with that. That just comes across as so toxic. But this is what happens. I believe it's one of the 48 laws of power as well. That you are when you create the illusion you are above someone, even if you're not. And the crazy thing is, some people will give you their power because they have such little self-esteem or are so new to an area. Maybe you're very early in your career and you're learning the ropes, especially if you're a woman and you've been groomed a certain way with social constructs, to just be like, okay, well, I guess I deserve that, right? And I had a lot of that when I was younger. Especially, I always talk about my ex-Catholic guilt of yeah, okay, guess I deserve that. And this is how you get the coworker that doesn't act their wage, hold on, darling, we are the same level. But in corporate, with all of these unwritten rules, which is what my research is on, that can be rewarded if they don't have performance systems in place that actually reward competence and experience and just reward the appearance of it, plus some charisma. Add if that person's conventionally attractive and white, they can fly up the ladder while not knowing shit about the actual work they're doing. Now, when I work with people, when I'm coaching in organizations, and as someone who my PhD is literally in designing performance evaluation systems, hiring, etc., I am very intentional to attempt to not perpetrate the harms that I seek to address, because I could not most of my work is with organizations. Most of my past decade has been with organizations. Now I do one-on-one individual coaching, but most of mine is in designing systems, and I would be going against the code of ethics in my field to design systems that I know will not support the business for maybe more than a quarter. And so when I work with individuals, I work on making them aware that this is a power dynamic, this is what's going on, so that one, they can be aware of it and start questioning when it happens of just because your coworker told you they're above you does not mean it is true. You can just, okay, Karen, no, that's not going to happen. No, thank you. I'm not interested. Or no, we're gonna continue with this anyway. Thanks for your 2 cents. And to make sure they don't undermine themselves. A lot of women struggle with that. A lot of people from working class backgrounds struggle with that, undermining yourself. But in this case, where this video was just my opinion, yes, an educated opinion as someone who studies the workforce, on why the pandemic broke illusions about unwritten rules in office politics, I did say at the end, this is my opinion, I could be wrong. Because as someone who actually has expertise in something, I know what I have expertise in, what I do not have expertise in, what is a claim that I can back up with a citation, and what is my opinion. Now, I don't think my opinion's trash. Obviously, it's my opinion. I have a bias there. But I'm very intentional, and I'm sure this is where it gets sticky between what is a woman not having that white man audacity and what is like I'm not insecure about where I'm not an expert because I actually have something I can stand 10 toes down on, is I'm okay with being wrong. And that is something I have had to develop because I do have, again, probably rooted in that Catholic guilt and everything else and just general American, white American culture of that you have to be right. And if you're wrong, you're a bad person. And like that is something I've really tried to deprogram in myself. Now, do I think this isn't something that a lot of white men think about, especially in power and in corporate? No. I have to be really careful on how I present, but I also think it undermines where my expertise actually is if I'm going to stand 10 tones down on. This is why I think people didn't like work from home. And this is why I think work from home destroyed some illusions about office politics, even though they weren't completely gone. Versus like, no, I ran a study on this. I had a client who was a statistician once say, when you have expertise in something, it really makes you value all of the expertise that other people have that you don't. And that resonated so deeply with me. And that was like almost 10 years ago, and I never forgot it because that feels so true to me. I am sure I would have a bigger following on here if I walked in here with the swagger of a 20-year-old white dude who thinks they know everything. Because a lot of y'all read that, and it's not just like you as person, this is again the power dynamics, as competence, as expertise, as someone who actually, on this point in my life though, someone who actually has expertise in something, I just read it as arrogance. Now, as a woman, I already get accused of arrogance for talking about things that I actually have expertise in, and the people who try to mansplain a lot of things to me that are in my expertise in my comments is annoying. Even then, I usually don't respond because I'm aware that, one, I don't have to. I actually have the published research on this. I don't need to argue with someone I don't know in the comments. And two, there is probably because I'm a class researcher, I'm like, this isn't a fair fight. This isn't a fair fight. And I don't even know who you are. And my name and face is associated with this. And it wouldn't make sense with my brand on teaching people emotional intelligence, power dynamics, etc., to then perpetrate that in my content. Not that I always do it perfectly, not that I don't crack, but I'm talking about this today not to put myself on a high horse, but because, especially with everything going on with world leaders and businesses right now, I challenge you all to be aware when someone is being condescending versus when they are asserting authority, that has something they can back up. And that has everything to do with their actions and their experience and what their skills actually are, and not with how confidently they shit on you when they talk to you. That will change your work life. That will change how you probably won't have the authority to change your senior leadership overnight, but it will change how you think about yourself. And I challenge you to do that with the content creators you follow. If someone is talking shit to you, and you can't find verification, I mean, you shouldn't let anyone talk shit to you in general, but if you can't, especially if you can't find verification that they have a reason to be that cocky about it, what are you doing? Should you take advice from this person? Is it going to actually help your life? Or are they taking advantage of you? Are they trying to sell you something based on an insecurity they are pulling out of you? It's not easy to address an insecurity. It's not even always cheap, but it's going to be more worth it long term. And I am sure in there, again, I'm sure white dudes with PhDs a lot of them don't run into this even thinking about this. And I'm sure I undermine myself in not projecting that image and seeing it's giving up your power. And I don't know if it's that I have a lot of neurodivergent traits or the homeschooler in me, but I have just I've never admired that about people. When you get really defensive and talk a big game and start shitting on everyone else, I just see you as really insecure and likely far less competent than you want me to think.